Look at your hand right now. Really look at it. The color you're seeing, whether it's pale ivory, golden tan, rich brown, or deep ebony, is telling a story about where your ancestors lived thousands of years ago, about the challenges they faced, about how they adapted to survive in places that should have killed them. Here's something that might surprise you. If you have light skin, pale skin, what we call white skin, you're looking at one of the most recent evolutionary developments in human history. Not ancient, not primordial. Recent, newer than agriculture, newer than pottery, newer than most of the innovations we associate with civilization. Every human alive today, all 8 billion of us, had ancestors in Africa around 200,000 years ago, and every single one of those ancestors had dark skin, dark brown, melanin-rich skin designed for intense equatorial sunshine. That was the default, the original, the baseline for what human skin looked like. So what happened? How did some humans end up looking so different? Why does a Swedish person look nothing like a Nigerian when we're all the same species, all descended from the same African population? The answer isn't what you might think. If you're using this to fall asleep, perfect. That's exactly why I make these. Maybe subscribe and let me know where you're listening from and what time is it there. I love seeing Sydney at dawn, Berlin at midnight, Lagos at bedtime, all of us connected across time zones, all of us descendants of the same ancient people. Tonight, we're going back to understand one of the most visible differences between human populations. We're going to trace skin color back through time, following our ancestors as they left Africa and ventured into cold, dark places where the sun barely shone, places that should have killed them. And in a very real sense, those places were killing them, until their bodies changed, until mutations gave some people an edge so powerful that within just a few thousand years, entire populations had transformed. The science behind skin color is way more fascinating than you probably realize. It's not just about one gene or one simple change. It's about vitamin D and folate. It's about sunlight and survival. It's about mothers trying to keep their babies alive through brutal northern winters. It's about evolution happening fast, right before our eyes in geological terms. And here's what makes this perfect for drifting off to sleep. It's a slow story. Evolution never rushes. We're going to travel gradually through 50,000 years of human history, watching our ancestors spread across the globe, watching their skin gradually lighten in response to new environments. We'll meet the people whose genetic mutations made pale skin possible. We'll discover why some populations became white while others didn't, even though they lived at similar latitudes. We'll uncover the surprising role that farming played in accelerating these changes. Most importantly, we'll understand what skin color actually means and what it doesn't mean. Because here's the truth that modern genetics has proven beyond any doubt. The physical differences we can see between human populations represent the tiniest fraction of our genetic code. The vast majority of human genetic diversity exists within populations, not between them. We're talking about a handful of genes out of 20,000. Superficial, recent, almost trivial from an evolutionary perspective. But tonight, we're not here for sociology or politics. We're here for the science, the actual story of how humans became white. It's a detective story written in DNA, pieced together by scientists over decades of painstaking research. And it's way more interesting than any simplified version you might have heard before. Before anyone was pale, before anyone had light skin, before skin color became something humans even thought about, we were all dark, every single one of us. Around 300,000 years ago in Africa, modern humans emerged, and they all had one thing in common: dark brown skin, rich in melanin, perfectly adapted to intense equatorial sunlight. This wasn't random. Melanin, specifically the brown-black pigment called eumelanin, acts like billions of tiny umbrellas scattered throughout your skin. It absorbs and scatters UV radiation before it can penetrate to deeper layers where it could damage DNA and destroy folate, a vitamin essential for healthy pregnancies and cell division. Our early ancestors lived under the African sun, not occasionally, every day, for tens of thousands of years. Evolution had optimized human skin for this environment. Dark skin was the solution to a life-or-death problem. Too much UV radiation destroys folate. Without enough folate, pregnancies fail. Babies are born with neural tube defects, health collapses. In the fierce African sun, pale skin would have been a death sentence. But then something happened that would eventually change everything. Humans started to move. The archaeological record shows that modern humans began leaving Africa around 70,000 to 100,000 years ago. Small groups, brave or desperate or just curious, began following coastlines, tracking game, exploring new territories. They moved into the Middle East, then Asia, then Europe, and as they moved north, they entered a world their bodies weren't designed for. These northern lands were cold, dark, winters were long. The sun, when it appeared at all, hung low on the horizon. Its light filtered through clouds and atmosphere. UV radiation levels plummeted, and suddenly the dark skin that had protected humans in Africa became a problem. Here's why. Your skin does something miraculous. When UV radiation hits it, your body produces vitamin D. This vitamin is essential. It regulates calcium absorption. Without it, your bones soften, your immune system weakens, children develop rickets, adults develop osteomalacia. In severe cases, people die. But here's the catch. Darker skin blocks UV radiation. That's its job. And in the dim light of northern latitudes, dark skin blocks too much. It prevents the little available UV from triggering vitamin D production. Imagine you're among the first modern humans to reach Ice Age Europe, maybe 40,000 years ago. You have the dark skin of your African ancestors. You're brilliant at making tools, creating art, surviving harsh conditions. But your children keep dying. Their bones don't develop properly. Women have difficult pregnancies. The group is struggling and nobody knows why. This was the crisis that drove the evolution of pale skin. Not immediately. Evolution doesn't work that way. But over thousands of years, individuals born with genetic mutations that produced less melanin had slightly healthier children. Those children survived slightly more often. They passed on those genes. Generation after generation, the advantage accumulated. Pale skin wasn't a goal. It was a solution to a deadly problem. Scientists have identified several key genetic changes. The most important involve genes like SLC24A5, which arose around 20,000 to 30,000 years ago. A single mutation in this gene can reduce skin pigmentation dramatically. Another important gene, HER2, affects not just skin but also eye and hair color. These mutations spread rapidly through populations because the selective pressure was intense. Have vitamin D deficiency or don't. Survive or don't. It's that simple. But here's where it gets really interesting. Pale skin didn't evolve just once. It evolved independently in different populations. The genetic changes that made Europeans pale are partly different from the ones that affected East Asians. This tells us something profound. The challenges were similar, but evolution found slightly different solutions. And not everyone who moved north became pale. The Inuit people of the Arctic, for example, maintained relatively darker skin despite living at extreme northern latitudes. Why? Diet. They ate fish, seal, whale, all rich in vitamin D. They didn't need their skin to produce it. Their traditional diet solved the problem that pale skin solves for populations that relied more heavily on terrestrial foods. The timeline of skin lightening is still being worked out, but the evidence suggests it happened relatively recently. Some researchers think the process began 40,000 years ago. Others think the palest skin tones in Europe didn't become common until after the agricultural revolution, maybe just 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. That's astonishingly recent. That's yesterday in evolutionary terms. Agriculture accelerated the change. Early farmers ate less meat and fish, more grains. Their diet was less rich in vitamin D. This increased the advantage of pale skin. There's also evidence that farming populations developed lactose tolerance around the same time in the same populations where pale skin became common. People who could digest milk into adulthood had another source of vitamin D. These changes are connected, part of the same adaptive package. The key thing to understand is this. Skin color is an adaptation to latitude and UV exposure, mediated by diet. That's it. It's not about intelligence, culture, capability, or any of the things humans have wrongly associated with it. It's about vitamin D and folate. It's about mothers trying to keep babies alive. It's about bodies adapting to where they live. And here's something beautiful. If populations lived long enough in different environments, their skin tones would shift again. Light-skinned people moving to equatorial regions would, over many generations, see their descendants darken again as melanin becomes advantageous. Dark-skinned people staying in northern regions would continue to lighten. Skin color is not fixed, it's flexible, it's responsive to environment. The diversity we see today, all the beautiful variation in human skin tones, is a map of where our ancestors lived and what challenges they faced. Nothing more, nothing less. Every shade of brown, every tone of beige, every variation is a story of adaptation, of survival, of human ingenuity in the face of new environments. Modern genetics has revealed something else profound. We're all closely related, incredibly closely. Any two humans picked at random from anywhere on Earth are more genetically similar than two chimpanzees from the same forest. The genetic differences between human populations are trivial. Real, yes. Measurable, yes, but trivial compared to the similarities. The genes that control skin color are a tiny fraction of your genome. They affect melanin production in your skin. That's pretty much it. They don't affect your brain, your personality, your capabilities. The idea that they would is not supported by any credible science. What does affect human outcomes across populations? History, geography, culture, economics, politics, disease, resources, all the messy, complicated factors that shape human societies. Skin color is a visible difference that human societies have imbued with enormous meaning, but genetically, it's superficial. A recent adaptation to latitude, nothing more. As you drift toward sleep, think about this. Your skin, whatever color it is, connects you to a specific journey. Your ancestors faced specific challenges. They adapted in specific ways. Those adaptations helped them survive long enough to pass their genes to you. You are the result of their resilience. If you have pale skin, your ancestors survived in places where the sun barely shone. They endured ice ages, harsh winters, vitamin D deficiency pressures that would have killed dark-skinned populations without genetic changes. Your pale skin is their legacy, a visible sign of the challenges they overcame. If you have dark skin, your ancestors either stayed in environments where melanin remained essential, or they're more recent migrants whose genes haven't yet shifted to northern latitudes. Your dark skin is the original, the baseline, the adaptation humans carried out of Africa. It's not primitive. It's optimized for intense sunlight, for protecting folate, for thriving under a strong sun. If you're somewhere in between, and most people are, you're carrying the story of multiple migrations, multiple adaptations, the complex history of human movement and mixture. We're all mixed, ultimately. We all share ancestors. We all carry the same basic story. The evolution of pale skin is not a story of superiority or progress. It's a story of bodies responding to new problems. Dark skin wasn't inferior. It was perfect for Africa. Pale skin isn't superior. It was necessary for northern latitudes. They're different solutions to different environmental challenges. That's evolution, adaptation, survival, nothing more. Understanding this, really understanding it, changes how you see the world. Human diversity stops being about fundamental differences and starts being about superficial adaptations. We're one species, one family, living in different environments, carrying visible reminders of where our ancestors struggled and survived. So as you close your eyes tonight, know this. The color of your skin is a message from your ancestors. It says, we adapted, we survived, we kept going through challenges you'll never face, through ice ages and migrations and changing climates and scarcity and hardship. We made it. We're here. In you. In your genes, in the melanin or lack thereof in your skin. That's the real story. Not superior or inferior. Not better or worse. Just different paths through the same human journey. Different solutions to different problems. Different adaptations to different sunlight. And all of it, every shade, every tone, every variation, is a testament to the incredible adaptability of the human species. We left Africa with dark skin. Some of us changed, some didn't, but we're all still the same species, still the same family, still capable of the same love, the same creativity, the same potential. Skin color doesn't change that. It never did. It never will. If you enjoyed this journey through the evolution of skin color, gently tap that like button, subscribe if you'd like to explore more mysteries of human evolution, and leave a comment if you'd like. Where in the world are you? What's your story? We're all connected, all descendants of the same African ancestors, all carrying variations of the same ancient story. For now, just rest. Let your body relax. Let the science settle into your mind. Let yourself feel connected to the vast human family, spread across the planet, living under different skies but all carrying the same essential humanity. Sleep well, knowing that beneath our superficial differences, we're all the same, all human, all one. Good night.